Hello there and welcome back to my channel, and I'm back with another book review for you today, and this one is called Brutally Honest by Mel B, or Scary Spice as she is known. I had real mixed views about this book actually, and I saw that it was advertised on Audible and I thought, oh no, I don't think I'll bother getting that. I don't think I'll bother reading another celebrity biography. But then my sister was up visiting me and she raved about it and said that it was brilliant and it was brutally honest, and it did go into lots of really intimate details about her relationship, and it was no holds barred, and she raved about it. So I thought, yeah, I might as well give it a go. So the first thing is I listened to it on Audible, and it starts off with an introduction from Mel B, saying that she's ever so grateful for you buying the book, and that she talks about her dyslexia and how it just wouldn't have been possible for her to narrate the book. And I kind of admire that, because I think sometimes it doesn't work when a celebrity narrates their own book. I would just prefer that a really good actor does it instead, you know what I mean? So they found this narrator who, sounds exactly like Mel B, and I was kind of glad that they did that, because it really did sound like her anyway. And so then I kind of realised, well, this must have been ghostwritten as well then, if she wasn't able to narrate it, she wouldn't have been able to write it. And a nice surprise at the end of the audiobook was an interview between her and the writer. And that was really good to listen to, because you could tell they had a really good rapport with each other, and they talked all about the writing process and about the fact that the writer just followed her around for weeks, and really got inside her head and stuff. I think the writer did a really, really good job with this, and was able to, really write from Mel's heart. So that was a really good part of it. But when I was listening to this story, I kind of had real mixed feelings about it, because obviously you're hearing Mel's side of the story, and her husband Stephen Belafonte sounded horrendous, sounded really controlling, abusive, and there's never any excuse for that kind of behaviour. But then Mel B was saying other things, like she'd get up in the morning and she'd snort a few lines of coke and then she'd pray, and I would be like, what? That's a bit weird. And she'd talk about having parties in the house where her children were sleeping downstairs, and they would get really drunk and have these threesomes and stuff, and you sort of think, well, that's not really, good behaviour for the kids. But she did sort of go on to try to explain herself that the reason why she was taking the coke was to try and cope with the husband. And funny, I had mentioned to my boss that I was reading this book, and I had said that it was about domestic violence and about how her husband had been abusing her. And the first thing my boss said, which is, the first thing that most people would say, would be like, well, why? Why did she put up with it? She's loaded. Why did she put up with it? Which of course is a very big topic, about why a woman puts up with that abuse. And I'm sure it's not limited to women who don't have the money to leave. Mel B said that in the course of her time in Spice Girls, and after that, she'd made something like £80 million, which is crazy. But she did explain throughout the book her reasons why she couldn't walk away. She was with him for 10 years. One of the main reasons was that he kept threatening that he would release these sex tapes. So the two of them had these parties and threesomes and brought other girls in and made sex tapes, and so he had threatened to release these, you know, and so she had that fear of that. Plus, she had the fear that her, you know, kids would be taken off her and she would lose custody. And that he would put up an argument of like, well, you know, she took an overdose. She's not mentally capable of looking after the kids. And she described that whole overdose scene in great detail as well. So yeah, she did kind of explain about why she couldn't leave him. He was very controlling. He controlled her schedule, her bank accounts. He took lots of her money off her. He was physically abusive. He was really controlling with the kids. Silly things like they'd have to sit with the blinds closed every day and they couldn't sit at the table, and really strange things. He just sounded like a piece of work, you know. I've seen that on interviews that he's trying to counter sue her and say that it's all lies and stuff, but I can't see that it would be lies. I don't know. But anyway, so she was really unhappy with him, and it took her about 3 years to actually leave him, you know. And another thing that she said, which is a reason for why she stayed with him, is because her father was very controlling. So deep down in her subconscious, she was used to that behaviour. To her, I mean, obviously this all happens subconsciously, but to her, you know, a real man would be somebody who was controlling and critical and abusive. And if a man wasn't like that, was really kind and sweet and patient, she would feel uncomfortable with it because she's not used to it, which sounds really mucked up, but you know, I can see the logic behind it. The part in the book I found really interesting was that she went into a lot of detail about her relationship with Eddie Murphy. And she said that she was still in love with him all these years later. She talked about how they split up and how it was so ridiculous how they split up. It was such a lack of communication. And I think that she kind of jumped into the relationship with Stephen Belafonte as a kind of rebound thing. You know, there was parts of the book that did sort of jump around quite a lot, but it was written in, you know, it was written in such a clear way. Like it really felt like it was coming from Mel herself. You know, it was all obviously in the first person, and so it kind of felt intimate in that way. And I suppose when I am listening to a book, you know, how I judge it is just how much I engage with it and how much it makes me think. And, you know, I find myself, like, I mean, I wouldn't have been a massive fan of the Spice Girls, or certainly wouldn't have been a fan of Mel B. I always actually found her a wee bit sort of mouthy, to be honest. But this book kind of helped me to see another side of her. And then I would start looking up, you know, other interviews that she'd been in and stuff. So it kind of piqued my interest, which is a sign of a good book, you know, when it's making you think even after you put the book down. Some really awful scenes about how Stephen would have brought the daughter in and made her watch when Mel was really drunk or on drugs and stuff. It just sounded awful. And another thing that was different about this book, and then I'll wrap this up, is that she had a couple of people writing a chapter from their point of view. So the daughter wrote a chapter from her point of view. Can't remember who the other person was, like a friend or doctor or something, wrote from their point of view. So that was quite nice as well. And I think it gave, because there's always going to be that credibility issue of like, is this true? How much of this is true? And especially when he's contesting it all. So to have other people putting their side of the story as well kind of added more weight to her story, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I mean, a really interesting book in terms of looking at that theme of domestic violence and how she got trapped in it and how she got out of it. you know, it was really brutally honest. I mean, she really did not leave anything out. And I loved as well when she was talking about the fact that he was gaslighting her, and talked about that thing of gaslighting where the guy makes you feel like it's all your fault and you're the one that needs to change, and all of that. So definitely definitely worth a read. I really enjoyed it. So I'll just wrap this up quickly. Thank you for watching. Over and out.